thank you once again and a very warm welcome. What I'm going to share with you is some exquisite information. It's not new age and it's not old, it's timeless wisdom and information and science. Stuff that you can prove, verify and check for yourself, okay? Syncretizing all the sciences, okay? So geometry is music, music is mathematics, right? And that's how it was considered holistically once upon a time. Holy because holy is the sun, and I'm going to show you that. But solar science, the knowledge of the fundamental motions of the sun, i.e. solar science, is our way to understand everything. It's our atom, it's our home, we're here. Our souls are here on this atom, because that's what it is. It's, in the macrocosm, it's just a big atom, and it used to be called Atum. The Egyptians called the sun Atum, and that's where we get atom from. This knowledge can heal you. This knowledge can enlighten you. This knowledge can help you to be the person that you're meant to be. Some basic fundamental cycles. The day, the year, and the great year. Okay, so that's day. Okay, then we have year, and then we have the great year. This is 24 hours, this is 365 days and a quarter, and over here we have, I'm going to put a figure of 24,000. Every 24,000 years we go through a cycle. Now you will have probably, if you know about precession, I'll give it another name here, precession, you would have got a figure of 25,920 years. Now they're both correct, okay? It's between 24,000 and 26,000, give or take. What happens with this, see, with the 24-hour day, let's say there's the sun and there's our Earth, our Earth's orbit. We are going around the sun every 365 days anti-clockwise. Okay? And the day, we get the day from the rotation of the sun, which is also anti-clockwise. So, for argument's sake, let's say that that's east and that's west. The sun rises in the east. Well, it doesn't rise. We're spinning. Okay, it appears to rise. And every 15 degrees it travels an hour. 15 degrees, 15 degrees, 15 degrees, so midday. Let's give that 6 o'clock, let's make that 12 o'clock. Sunset is 6 o'clock, and then the sun directly under your feet is 12 o'clock, okay? So we see at night too, we watch the stars, and the stars are also going east-west. It's a river. It's a river. Everything, the planets, the stars, the luminaries, the moon and the sun, all go east-west. With the great year, those very same stars precess. They go backwards once, slowly, right? Slowly, west, eastward, contrary to the normal flow. So we know we are in these three fundamental solar cycles. We know that. Every year we watch the constellation of the zodiac, because the zodiac are also following the sun. The sun is never out of that 17-degree width band of Aphrodite's belt. King Arthur's table, the round table, the circuit of Galilee that Jesus goes forth into. And I'll prove this. I will show you how all this comes together. Right now, for instance, the sun is in Aries. It's the 23rd of March. On the 21st, that was the equinox. So the sun is now in Aries, because when the sun's up in the sky, Aries, you cannot see Aries because the sun's in it. And the sun's light is too bright. But behind Aries is the sun now. Behind the sun is Aries now. And next month it'll be Taurus. And then the next month it'll be Gemini, as we get into May. Okay, so you know how all that works. These cycles are very, very important. And it's the knowledge of these cycles, our atom, that we live on, that you will use to navigate through the rest of this presentation, and you will understand. I'm encouraging a lot of people to read this book, please. This is real modern science. This is Walter Cruttenden from the Binary Research Institute, I think it's called, in California. And he has discovered that we are in a binary, and that's what causes the great year as our sun goes around its sister Sirius. Djwhal Khul, I think is the name. It's spelled D-J-W-H-A-L, Khul, states, scientists have not admitted into their calculations the fact that our solar system is revolving around a cosmic centre along with 6 others of even greater magnitude in the majority of these cases than ours, only one being of approximately the same magnitude as our solar system. Like a planetary atom, the solar atom not only rotates on its axis, but likewise spirals in a cyclic fashion through the heavens. This is a different activity to the drift of progressive dynamic motion through the heavens. It deals with the revolution of our sun around a central point and with its relation to the 3 constellations oft referred to in this treatise, the Great Bear, the Pleiades, and the Sun, Sirius. These 7 cosmocrators, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, the Earth and its moon, Mars, Saturn and Jupiter, these planets are also included in all of this astrotheology, but they are not visible to the human eye. Just these gas monsters here, these are all gas monsters, these are solid planets. These 2, they have pretty much all of the angular momentum in our solar system. The Sun has less than 1%. That is one of the proofs that we are in a binary. It can't be calculated in connection with these planets because there's no angular momentum. It's flowing around another star. We have a sheer edge to our solar system. Beyond the Kuiper belt, beyond 50 astronomical units, there is a sheer edge to those asteroids. It just stops, which would indicate something quite simple, that if we are in a binary, and this is how he describes the binary. Well, I've gone a bit wide there, haven't I? But anyway, it's perfect. What happens is Sirius and our Earth do this, and they do this clockwise. So because of this clockwise motion, remember I said that precession, the stars go west-east? Well, because our sun must be curving through space. It has to be. And it is. In fact, it is. And it's curving through space with its sister star, Sirius. And what I'm going to show you is that is Isis and that is Jesus. Our sun comes from this. Scientists know that our sun was produced from its mother sun, Sirius. So that sheer edge would be when they are in close proximity to each other. That when our suns are close to each other, let me just read from this book. We learn from Oriental astronomy that moons revolve around their planets, and planets turning on their axes revolve with their moons around the sun, and the sun with its planets and their moons takes some star for its dual and revolves round it about 24,000 years. A celestial phenomenon which causes the backward movement of the equinoctial points around the zodiac. So we're going backwards through the zodiac. You'll see this in a minute. Why? Because these are going clockwise and the signs are going backwards, contrary to the normal flow. So now the sun is in Aries, next month it'll be in Taurus, and then it'll be in Gemini, as I said before, because it's going that way. Okay? But the ages go backwards. Let's have a look at the key. Now, that is the Earth, and that's the equator. 23.5 degrees above the equator we have a tropic. Okay, that's the Tropic of Cancer. That's the Tropic of Capricorn. And I'm going to do a that sine wave, you will have seen it. If you've got a globe of the Earth, and some of them still have this sine wave, you'll see from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn, you'll see a sine wave that goes right around 360 degrees around you. This is the basis for everything, guys. And this sine wave is just a pulse of energy. It's electric. It starts with Aries over here on the 21st of March. It's an electric pulse. March 21st, the equinox. Equal day, equal night, because equinox means in Latin equal night. And it only happens twice. Over here, 6 months later in September, the 21st. Some people put the 22nd or the 23rd, okay? That date there is a little bit different to the others. June the 21st, the solstice, the longest day of the year, and then when the sun hits Capricorn, it's December the 21st. That's the day the sun dies. The sun is the hero. The sun gives us an electric pulse in summer, and then it gives us a magnetic pulse in winter. The sun gives us photosynthesis, then it lets us be buried in snow. So here you live, and the opposite of live is evil. Mirror image, devil. This is good. Take out a zero, you've got God. This is light. This is darkness. This is electricity, magnetism. Positive, negative, yin, yang. In fact, this sine wave, you will have seen it in the yin and yang symbol. You will have seen it in the letter S because it's the serpent that hangs on the tree. Because when you bring this around to make a circular graph and you put the solstice there, what do you get? The symbol for the earth in astrology. Do you think they knew something? They're just showing you that cycle. Every cross comes from here. Even the most common cross that we have, that one, that's the equinoxes. This is the summer solstice because it casts a short shadow, and that's the winter solstice because it casts a long shadow. And it's also the Kiro. You've seen that one. Kiro. In Greek, the first letters for the word Christ, because Christ is the sun. Krishna is the sun. KR always represents the sun. Cairo in Egypt, where the pyramids and the obelisks that create this shadow on the ground, every year the sun goes from summer to winter. Summer, autumn, winter, spring on the horizon. It's 47 degrees on the horizon. And it casts a shadow which makes an X on the ground. That X is Kiro. It's the Christ. Our God, our way out of here, the fire, this corresponds to the sun, by the way. Sun. This is sky. This is sea. And this is land. The fire is the sun. And as you will see later, it's pure science in the Bible, because when Jesus says, no one goes to the Father except through me, it's through fire that we must be purged of everything before our immortal souls return to their abodes, whence they came. And it's also the figure 8, the symbol for eternity, because you can bring this around. So you can have Aries over here, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, or you can have it from here. Aries, Taurus, Gemini. I'm going to take it from here. But the figure 8 is there. It's a perpetual sign of perpetuity. It's also the swastika. There's the sine wave. But a swastika is also, that's a stylized swastika. It's every symbol. The Ankh from Egypt. From the northern hemisphere perspective, not from here down in Australia, because now in Aries we've got autumn, haven't we? But up there it's spring. And that lamb, the ram of Aries, that is there, that 30-degree space from March the 21st to April the 21st, that's the sign that it occupies there. And the wool of the lamb represents the blossom. And that's when the year begins. Everything starts from here, as I will show you. Okay, it's the springtime. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. I'll put winter back over here too so we can see it going. Okay, it's the springtime. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. I'll put winter back over here too so we can see it going around this way. But if you have a linear graph, it will go like that, but a circular graph will come around. So we've got spring, summer, autumn and winter. When the sun climbs up 23.5 degrees up to the Tropic of Cancer, that's midsummer. If you're in Italy, you're going to be on the beach. If you're down in Australia over here, it's freezing when the sun is on June the 21st. It's midwinter, but up there it's summer. So let's look at this from the north, okay? And then we will understand the whole science. So June the 21st is the solstice. Solstice, sol is the sun. Stizio means stand still. Why? Because the sun, as I said before, it travels 47 degrees on the horizon. That's 47 degrees from there to there. So you'll see the sun go from summer, autumn, winter, spring. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. As it hits the solstices, it appears to stop. The sun, you can watch it on the horizon. You can watch the sun go from summer to winter, whether you watch it rising or whether you watch it setting. You'll see this. It's always moving. It's walking on the water. When it sets on the water, it walks on the water. 47 degrees every year. When it's rising in the east, it rises, comes up out of the ocean. You see the fire coming up out of the ocean. That's the Jesus coming up out of the mare, in Latin, Maria. Jesus is born of Mary. The maritime, the marine. The JES in Hebrew is fire, the sun. So when the sun comes up and it's walking on water, that's Jesus walking on water. The Gospels are not literal. They are not literal. There is a literal component to the Gospels, but it's the bottommost level of interpretation. All sacred scriptures, all of them, they're all sealed with 7 seals. 7 levels of interpretation. The highest one is this, which I'm about to show you, because this leads to the mystical. Rather than being stuck in the literal paradigm, every hero is the sun, the giver of life. From this source and centre of our solar system, we get 3 things. In every culture, it has always been recognised that the sun is responsible for 3 L's. Life, undoubtedly. Love and light. And if you put an L on the front of them, the name of this is Helios in Greek with an H. H-E-L, that E-L is going to pop up everywhere. Israel, angel, evangel, citadel, chapel, cathedral, Michael, Gabriel, Elohim, the elder in your church. L is everywhere because it's Helios. This is the sun and the science of the sun. In fact, first century Christians were called Heliognostics. Heliognostics means sun knowers. They were sun knowers. They knew the sun. They knew the science of the sun. And this is what we need to get back to. We really do. And you'll see this. It's beautiful knowledge. When the sun hits the Tropic of Cancer, it will be in there for 30 days. It'll also be in Leo next in July, August. And then Virgo. So, we've got Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Then the sun goes below the equator here. Bad. Remember? Evil, cold, winter, detriment. Now you've got to see this as a pulse. Believe you me, this is a pulse. Even though it's a cycle, it's back to the argument in quantum physics, particle or wave, particle or wave. Well, the planets are particles, but they produce waves. Saturn produces a wave of 29.5 years. That's how long it takes to go around the sun. So it just, it sends out that frequency every 30 years. Boom, a pulse. Jupiter goes around every 12 years. Boom, it's a 12-year pulse. And isn't that interesting? Because Jesus was 12 when he was in the temple, and he was 30 when he started his ministry, like every other hero, because you need the knowledge of the solar system. When you know the cycles of the solar system, you'll know why the Israelites were in the wilderness for 40 years. 40 comes to these 40 days. It's everywhere here. And all the festivals, all the nursery rhymes, poems, Humpty Dumpty, whatever you want, they're all here. in this cycle of the sun. This is where the sun begins his journey. This is the start. In fact, March used to be called Primus. Primus. What does Primus mean? First. In fact, that's why September is over there. That means 7. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7. March has always been the first. March here, the 21st of March, the first degrees of Aries, is where we get right ascension. All right? If you know your astronomy, there's right ascension and declination. Right? That's the equivalent terms for latitude and longitude. Right ascension begins here. Longitude begins at Greenwich. We have to have some imaginary line. But latitude, this is the line for latitude. You go 23.5 degrees latitude, 23.5 degrees latitude south of the equator. So we know what latitude is. This is longitude. Well, this is where it all starts. In fact, this is spring. And the French call, and the Italians, I'm Italian, the Italian call spring primavera, because it's the start. Everything starts here. And as I will show you later, the head of the human being is here. The day starts here at 6 a.m., 6 a.m., 12 a.m., 6, 12. And the year starts here in spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Because astrology is hidden in that. Astrology is based on this sine wave. Right? This is going to put together all the sciences. Not one will be left out. Mathematics, astrology, astronomy, the lot. Okay? Libra. Now I want to do another colour here, red, because that's the colour of autumn. The leaves turn red about here. So the sun is actually going through the Red Sea. This is also called Egypt. This is the promised land. This is the land flowing with milk and honey. This is Eden. This is out of Eden. Good, evil. Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. These are the winter months. These are the good months. In fact, this corresponds to the Jewish candelabra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because the rulers inside there, the planets, all have a ruling body. Okay? So you see how I've done this in green? That's photosynthesis. Everything is green here. Okay? So this is what happens. The sun comes up, March the 21st. Aries, the lamb, spring. Taurus tells you, grab your bull, plough. This is the sign of fixed earth. All these signs have their elements. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. That's called a quadruplicity. In the Jewish system, or in theology, it's called the tetragrammaton. Tetra means the same thing, and it's actually the name, the Jewish name for God. Yod, He, Va, He, fire, earth, air and water. That's what it is. That's Jehovah. That's who Jehovah is. The quadruplicity is the tetragrammaton. And then, of course, you have your modalities. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal is the start, fixed is the middle, mutable is the end. You know, an analogy would be you hop in a plane and you take off. That's the cardinal, the explosive energy to get those turbines going, to get that plane and all that weight up 9,000 metres, and then it coasts along. And it doesn't use much gas or fuel, but that coasting along would represent fixed. It's fixed. It's that element, that earth is fixed. The bull, plant, the ground. This is earth. Spring is earth. Spring is about earth. Summer is about fire. That's fixed fire. That's fixed earth. Over here, you have fixed water, Scorpio, and fixed air, Aquarius. Well, that also, air and water have the wintry qualities, as you will see. Once you start connecting a few of these things together. Mutable would be the jet coming down and it's changing. Or like when you turn your oven on to cook, you turn it on and the power to get up to cooking temperature. Then when it's fixed, you can cook. You can't cook when the temperature's going up and down. You'll know that, won't you? You can flatten a nice cake if you don't have a fixed temperature. And so that's what that is. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. That's the triplicity. So you've got a quadruplicity and a triplicity. That's the Trinity. And it corresponds to generation, operation, and dissolution. God. God is an acronym. It's not a title. And it's not the dude who sits on the throne and says, oh, your name's not in my book of life, so you can perhaps burn forever. It's not the case. That's what God is. He is the creator. In the Hindu, Krishna, Vishnu, is the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer. Everything generates, is born. Everything does stuff, and then everything dissolves. This sun, the earth that we're on, our bodies, generated, come out of a womb, did stuff. I'm doing this presentation. One day, this body will not be around. The molecules will decompose, and they will go up. They go up. And all these elements that we have in our body, they are very light. In fact, hydrogen, the atomic value number is 1. Carbon is 6. 1, 6, 7, 8. These are the lighter elements, and we're made up 97% of these. Okay, back to the story. Gemini, the twins. Twin goats, twin lambs. Cancer, the sideways moving animal. It never walks in a straight line, because when the sun hits the Tropic of Cancer, it's got nowhere to go but sideways. It's all downhill from there. This is downhill. This is where the sun rules in his kingdom. In fact, he rules here in Leo, fixed fire. The sun, these 7, who are also the 7 days of the week, Sunday, Monday, the moon off the earth, Mercury is Tuesday, Venus is Friday, Venerdì, Mars is Martedì, Tuesday. Sorry, that was Mercury, excuse me, Mercoledì, Mercury, Wednesday. Jupiter, Thor, god of thunderbolts. And have you seen any Voyager images of Jupiter? It's thunderbolts. It's all electric. It's like a sun. It's a storm of electricity. It's havoc. Havoc. He just eats up all the asteroids and junk from outer space and protects us. That's what Jupiter does. But he is Thor, the god of thunder, because he's thunderous and electricity. Saturn is Saturn Day, Saturday. The 7 days of the week, you'll see how that all fits in together later. Okay? But those planets have their ruling houses here. This is Mars, Venus, Mercury, the moon, the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Saturn, Jupiter. They're all there. The 7 are there. Because nature, to manifest physical forms, must have 7 energies. It must have 7. This is what a soul is. It's a compound. Spirit is a pure essence. Soul is a compound. It's made up of these 7 energies. Everywhere in the universe where there's material forms, these 7 appear. But all from the 12. They all come from the 12, from the ether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 signs. 12 different energies. Every year, every day, every hour, every minute, because it's all fractals. This is just a fractal of everything else that's going on in every part of the universe. Galaxies are doing it right down to the neutrino. These are the platonic solids. These shapes will fit into a sphere perfectly. There are no other shapes outside of this in the universe. Just these 5 shapes. The tetrahedron, the octahedron, the icosahedron, 20. Icosa in Greek is 20. Octa is 8. Tetra's 4, because it has 4 sides. Okay? Earth is hex, so it's just there. Jesus, he was a fisherman of men, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. The rock, the twin, the beetle, because there's also a beetle here, the scarab. The scarab climbs up, he puts his egg in a ball of dung, and he rolls it up the mountain, and then it rolls back down, and then he rolls it back up. That's why they put the scarab there. Jesus is being called a scarab. You look at all the church fathers, all of them, they called him my dear scarab, Jesus. Why? Well, because it's talking about Jesus up here in its glory, in Cancer. June, those glorious months where the sun's light is so beneficent. And we get those photosynthesis happens, and the plants love it. The plants come up. You see the sunflower facing the east in the dawn, and when it sniffs the dawn, it just goes up and it just blesses itself with the rays of the sun. Animals do it too. Animals at sunset in the jungle, they all go quiet for 5 minutes. They respect the sunset because they know who the sun is. But we humans are the ones who are superior because we've written Gospels based on the sun. Gospels are just showing off our poetry about how much we know about the sun. Because the aristocratic families, the Jewish families and the Hebrews and the learned ones, they would love to write and say, well, look at my poem. Aratus did it with his Phenomena. Marcus Manilius did it. They all did it. Because we are the ones that know most about the sun. And we put it in poems. And we give it to nursery rhymes to our children. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. You cannot put that egg together again, man, when it menstruates. It's all over. We have handed them down, not knowing the meaning of them. Here's what some famous people have said about this. Thomas Paine: the Christian religion is a parody on the worship of the sun, in which they put a man whom they called Christ in the place of the sun and pay him the same adoration which was originally paid the sun. That's in The Age of Reason, one of the most published books in history. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci said this: I could wish that I had such power of language as should avail me to censure those who would extol the worship of men above that of the sun. Those who have wished to worship men have made a very grave error. It's talking about Christians. Because they worship a man, a Judean, a Galilean, a Nazarite. What is he? Well, he's a Galilean up there because Galileans are Gauls. Gauls are Celts. Celts are white-skinned people. Jews, originally black. So he's a Jew, he's a Galilean, he's a Nazarite, and he goes through the circuit of Galilee. Check out what it means. Go to your Strong's Concordance and see what it means when Jesus goes off into the circuit of Galilee. Galilee means the circle of the zodiac. St. Patrick. We all know of St. Patrick. You know, we get St. Patrick's Day in the year roughly around about 390. The true Christ is the sun. I'll leave it at that. That's what St. Patrick said. Clement of Alexandria, in excerpts in one of his book called Excerpts ex Theodoto, says that Valentinian Gnostic Theodotus, so he's talking about Theodotus, says that the apostles were substituted for the 12 signs of the zodiac. They are all this. And astrology is the mother that sits on top of them all. Emperor Julian, in his invectives against the Galileans, said this: within 40 years of the Council of Nicaea, we have the Emperor Julian writing the following: it is, I think, expedient to set forth to all mankind the reasons by which I was convinced that the fabrication of the Galileans is a fiction of men composed by wickedness. And he called them beasts, slit throats, because they slit the throats of his mother and father and brothers and everybody. He got the throne, became emperor. In 661, he was killed by a Christian. He was fighting against the Persians. And they pierced him through and killed him. And they said, good, we've killed the pagan dog. But he tried to save us and bring us back to the glory of the sun. And he wrote the most beautiful poems to the sun, of which I'm going to read you some of the beautiful poems. No, yeah, questions later. But I'll just take that because it might bring me back to some good point. Sorry.
I'll ask later.
Okay. He knew that the sun was the centre of the solar system because he said simply, he said, "For as to the planets, it is manifest that dancing, as it were, around the sun, their motions are measured by a certain symphony of figures with respect to the God." So for those Christians who keep saying, "Oh, we didn't know that the sun was the centre of the solar system until Copernicus," that's a lie because they don't read. They haven't been told to read. They're told not to read because it's from the devil. Any information that the priests have monopolising has got to be from the devil. Pope Leo, remember the one that Raphael painted? It's in the Vatican, the big fat guy, Giovanni de' Medici, became Pope. Big fat slob, had prostitutes everywhere. Martin Luther got wind of it and said it's debauchery. The Vatican is Julian before him and Alexander, those three popes, they were all Borgia, Spanish, right? They all got the papacy with their viciousness and bloodshedding. Anyway, Pope Leo X. It is well known how profitable this fable of Christ has been to us. Now, I'll get off that because I want to show you something really interesting. In the Gospel of John, in the last chapter of the Gospel of John, do you remember Jesus was on the beach? He'd already died and he's resurrected and the apostles are out in the boat fishing and they didn't catch anything? Do you remember that? No, I'm glad that I was a good little Bible student. I'm so glad because now I've got all the verses and all the stories in my head, as they should be. We're supposed to teach people that Santa Claus comes here, red Santa Claus, on the 25th of December and gives us presents. The present is the sun coming back. That's what the present is. And the Christmas tree is the consciousness. This is the Christmas tree that we put up because the little sprig, the little twig is... Even though Saturn brings the sun down to die on St. Thomas's Day, the sun will always return because the sun sheds its life for us. Anyway, Jesus says, "Oh, how are you? Good, we haven't caught anything. Put your net on the other side of the boat and you'll catch something." So he waits around. "Did you catch anything?" "Yes, bring it in." So they brought it out. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing here, but you'll read it, the last chapter of the Gospel of John. They counted the fish. Why would a gospel have this fact, this information? Simon Peter, therefore, went on board, and this is John 21:11. Simon Peter, therefore, went on board and drew the net to land full of big fishes, 153 of them. Now, most Christians read that and go, "Oh, isn't that lovely? The Bible just mentions these 153. They must be famous." Does anyone know what the 153 means, man? It's a sacred number. It's the most sacred number. Pythagoras called it, and you know who Pythagoras was? He's the father of mathematics. Forget the rest. Pythagoras' disciple Empedocles, he would have been taught by Pythagoras anyway, so was another wonder worker. Where is it? So the formula, okay. Archimedes, another great mathematician who lived in Sicily, called it the measure of the fish. Let me explain what it is. Well, there's a picture of it. Two circles share the same common radius. So you get two circles, perfect circles, and you put a dot in the centre, and then you draw another circle next to it. What shape do you get? This measurement here is 153. That is the fish, the Pisces. The sun has been, Jesus has been in through Pisces, getting crucified for the last 2,000 years, because Pisces is in the sign of the cross. So that 153 is the measurement of the fish. The sign of the fish is widely used today as a symbol of Christianity, but originated in pagan sacred geometry. Two circles symbolic of spirit and matter. Spirit and matter are brought together in sacred marriage. When the circumference of one touches the centre of the other, they combine to produce the fish shape known as the Vesica Pisces. Look, I think I've covered a lot of stuff, and I'm just going to wind it up now. barely is the sun. Why have you forsaken me? That's here, winter. Well, here it says it is finished at this crucifixion. Crossifixion. It's a crossover. It's a Passover. All the crucifixions is where the Son gets crucified on this cross. Cross, 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 cross. Here, the Son says it is finished because it's the end of the wine season. Jesus turns, the Son turns water, the beautiful water of this season, into wine. This is the bread season when you go and get the harvest. This is the wine season in the Northern Hemisphere in September. And the wine gets pressed in the scales of Libra. The Jews call this Judgment Day, the Festival of Tabernacles, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. Any Jews? Rosh? Yes. Okay, it's all here. The Passover is here. The three Jewish festivals, they're all here. They're here, the Passover. These are the three, the sojourns, the one that they have to the pilgrimage festivals. Here, equinox, and here, the Pentecost. And if you want to read the first horoscope in the Bible, go to Genesis 49, when Jacob blessed his 12 sons, and you will see exactly who the 12 sons of Israel are. When he talks to Reuben, he says Reuben is compared to running water. You'll see it. It's there in the Bible. Ephraim, Taurus. Benjamin, Sagittarius. Because Jacob compares him to a hunter. That's the hunting season. It's all there. Isaiah 60, 1-3. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee, and the Gentiles shall come to the light, and the kings to the brightness of thy rising. When the sun comes down to die, on St. Thomas's Day, the 21st of December, the shortest day of the year, Capricorn begins, Saturn takes over, and Saturn kills the sun symbolically. Saturn is Satan. Cold, inverno, remember? And the Romans used to have a festival here from the 17th of December to the 25th Christmas Day, and they called it the Saturnalia because they were weeping for the sun. And this is where they would weep for the sun because it would die. And they'd put candles out on Christmas Eve and the Yule log so that they would bring back the sun on the 25th of December, because the 25th of December is the moment that the sun begins to move. Because when the sun is on the horizon and it reaches the solstice, it stays there for 3 days. You can see it. It just moves. It doesn't move. It dies. So it dies here and it dies there. Dies 3 days, then takes off again. Dies 3 days, takes off again. Empedocles, the student of Pythagoras, he called this love and strife. It generates everything that you see. Love and strife. Chaos. See that? Hex. What's a hex? If you flat pack a hex, what do you get? This is what you get. 3, 4, 5, 6. Make a hex. 6, 6, 6. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. We are carbon. Everything is carbon. It's organic. Every single life form. There are other life forms. I believe they've discovered silicon. Is that right? Yes, under the sea. They found a creature that's actually not carbon-based. But every other thing, your carrots, your vegetables, your animals, we, carbon, 666. We've been hexed on the cross of earth. Plato said we were given a body. A body is called sema. The tomb is soma. The tomb is called sema. He said they are the same thing. We come from a womb, we go to a tomb. A tomb is there to represent the womb. We go back to our mother. Mother Earth. But the tombstone represents the ascension, because if we were good little Christians, we were baptized when we came down to this carbon molecular, we have molecular structures, do we not? And we've been hexed. And by the way, have you seen the Voyager photos of Saturn? He's the major hex. He's responsible for 50% of the illnesses of the Earth, together with Mars. Those two, and this is a fact, those two are responsible for 90% of all the illnesses on this Earth. I want to show you just quickly, this is a real picture of Saturn. This is a gas monster. See the hex? This is a Voyager picture. It's a real picture. They've discovered a hex on Saturn. So when we come down here, as Plato said, we have the soma. We've been baptized with death. It's a baptism of death. We are more dead than we are alive because we have molecules. And this is the least vibrating of the place where life can exist. Do your reading and you will find that there was a time that we lived on breath alone. Breatharians. And then we had to drop, and we had to, from air, we had to drop and consume more of these more solid foods like water and earth and animals even. And there are tribes that are still eating humans. That's how low we've gone. In Dendera, in Egypt, you will find the oldest stone, and it has the 12 tribes of Israel on there, the 12, and they are all these creatures, the man. In fact, you look at the 4 fixed signs, and you have a man, a bull, a lion, and an eagle. Scorpio is also an eagle, and a serpent. That is how the Bible describes God. And I saw the face of the true God. And he was in front, he had the face of a man. And on the side, the face of an eagle. And on the other side, the face of a lion. And the other side, the face of a bull. There it is. That was in Egypt. And that's what the Jews, how they describe God. It's the fixed signs of the zodiac. This is fixed fire, like I said to you, cardinal fire. It fixates over there, and then it must mutate over here. Look at it scientifically. Look at it with your physics eyes. This is the morning. Of course it's cardinal fire. And of course that is fixed fire, because it's fixed. And here it's got to be mutable. There's no fire signs in this quadrant. Do that with all the others. Do it with Earth. Here is where Earth begins, because Earth is thawing out. It's winter. And now the sun begins growing his rays, and the earth begins to thaw out. It's cardinal earth. Cardinal earth. Fixed earth, this corresponds with growing the seeds. Get them in the ground. Fix them in the ground. Because here is where you harvest it. Mutable earth. It all makes sense. It's all natural cycles. And if you look at the body is there too. When we wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock, where do we wake up first? We wake up in the head. We wake up in the head. Aries is in the head. Then we go and eat. Taurus. Taurus is the bottom part of the head. Both the horned animals are in the head. The ram and the bull. We wake up in the head. We go and put breakfast in our mouths. Second thing we do. Fixed earth. Fixed earth goes in here. Solid molecules, earth, go in here. And where do they get digested and mutated? Immutable earth, Virgo. Virgo's the belly. Gemini, the arms. We go to work and we start building our houses. Cancer, the chest, has to do with breathing and digestion and the chest functions. We know what this is. That's the heart. It's taken the earth that's in the stomach in Cancer and Virgo, and it's sending the nutrients through the blood. Then the kidneys does its thing between 6 and 8, whatever. And then Scorpio, the generative. When's a man and a woman likely to lie down in bed and spend some close time together? Wouldn't it be around about 8 to 10? You want to get to sleep by 10 so you can have a good 8 hours of sleep. And isn't it interesting how Sagittarius is the thighs and then Capricorn's the knees, and Aquarius is here, and Pisces is here. There are no vital organs when you're sleeping. 6 o'clock is always here. March the 21st is always here. This is the start. If you look at it physically, and with a physics mind, you will see that, of course, everything starts from photons, from light. Photons, and then particles, and then atoms, and then molecules. It all goes down, and here it is. The light comes up in the morning, then it hits the molecule in Earth, then it goes to particle, and then atom. This can be explained in physics. Let's have a look at some of these beasts. Have you seen this beast? That's a minotaur. Min-tor. It's a combination. There's not scary monsters. It's a combination of Taurus and Gemini. Dagon and the mermaid. A combination of the man and the fish. Dagon. A Yale. That's a combination, that's a goat type. A centaur. That's a centaur. A harpy. Scorpio. A cherub, or cherub. Man, eagle, remember the 4 fixed signs. A griffin. Lion and an eagle. A satyr. A goat and a man. They'll always be together, or they'll be a fixed sign, or they'll be a cardinal sign. What have we got here? Chimera, lion, snake and a goat. Do you see those animals there? Jesus, he was a fisherman of men, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. The rock, but it is with Mercury and Jupiter. There's patterns here, guys, and you'll see the patterns. So when we are able to turn our vices, all of them, into virtues, real virtues, because you cannot do it unless you know this science, because you must know the nature of who you are, that you are a sevenfold septenary creature, an octave, and you must get into the higher chakras. There's a chakra above, just, I think it's 10 centimetres above the head. That is the new chakra in the next octave. That's where we're going to live. We're going to get out of this octave. We are here in this octave, and you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, the colours that we see and everything, they all come in 7. It's a very thin sliver of the whole electromagnetic. We can't see above this, which is ultraviolet. The top chakra is violet. Oh, hello. No. Ultraviolet. Higher vibrations. Gamma rays. They're all up here. The higher vibrating gamma rays are up here. Ultraviolet. This is red. Infrared. Infernal. Remember? Infrared. They're slow. Radio waves. So we need to get that energy. We need to learn how to get that energy. Get these chakras opened up. And when you do, then you're thinking in another way. You're thinking in the way you should think. Not consensus reality, herd reality. How many religions do we have to tolerate that are standing on their high horses and condemning other people because they're not in the same religion? You've got Baptists and Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and Catholics, and they've all got the truth. We've allowed this to happen. We've allowed it because we've forgotten the science. Remember the cat? Look at the heel. The heel of the cat is on the serpent. Cat sees at night. It's the sun. The serpent is the scorpion of day. Jesus gets it in the heel. One nail goes through on the cross. He gets it in the heel. Achilles gets it in the heel. The heroes, all the heroes get it in the heel. There's the hero. That's Hercules. That's Achilles. That's every single sun god. There it is there. See the arrow? He's looking down. There's the, in medicine we call that the Achilles tendon in the heel, because the heel is hell. L. the Son. I'm still reading from the Bible. These are interesting scriptures, aren't they? I just finished reading Malachi 4:2, the Son of Righteousness with healing in its wings. Son, S-U-N. Revelation 12:16, I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright morning star. Jesus is talking. I am the bright morning star. Sometimes he says, I am the spring of Jesse. Have you seen that? His father was Jesse. What? David? Because it's the son. The yes is the son. E-S, E-S, year, etc. 1 John 1:5. This then is the message which we have heard of him and declare unto you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. God is light. It is. God is light. That's God. It's the image of God. It's not God that we worship. When we close our eyes in prayer, we do that because the Essenes and the Therapeutae and the Egyptians and the Gnostic Christians and the Helio-Gnostics and all of those esoteric Christians used to wait for the sun to come up in the dawn. So they would wear their linen robes and they would wait for the sun to come up. You can watch the sun with your eyes on the horizon. When it gets up above 7 or 8 degrees, it starts to get too bright. So you have to shut your eyes. That's why we shut our eyes when we pray to the Lord. The Lord, as I showed you before, put an L in front of Lord, gives us El-ite, El-love, and life. It's all L. Elohim. Psalms 84:11. This is a beautiful scripture. Describes the one I just read says. Everybody knows this. All Christians know this one. 1 John 1:5. God is light. Everybody knows this one. Christians, that is. 1 John 4:8. God is love. So we're defined. There's only 4 scriptures in the Bible really that define what God is. I'm going to read them to you. One I just read. God is light. God is love. We know God is life. It wouldn't be death. How about this? For the Lord, Psalm 84:11, for the Lord God is a sun and a shield. Have you seen the magnetosphere of the earth? There, that little speck in the middle of that magnetosphere is a shield. And that magnetosphere goes out from the atmosphere of the earth, and it's generated by the core of the earth, and it protects us from solar wind. If we did not have that, like Mars and Venus, our atmosphere would be stripped in an instant. So what does Psalm 84:11 say who God is? A sun and a shield. It's all nature. All of it. Every single bit in the Bible is all explainable by this science. Wake up, sleeper. Ephesians 5:14. Wake up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. I mean, we take these literally because our vision has not been lifted up to see what it's truly saying. And we've been fooled in a big way. Vicarious salvation by any person in history is unacceptable. We have to save ourselves. We can't get there and just go, all right, God, well, I went to church and by golly, I was told that Jesus would save me now that I'm here. I haven't done anything about my chakras. I've been absolutely putrid in all my habits, but I've gone to church and I know that Jesus is going to save me. It doesn't happen. That vicarious salvation will not happen. Please, please, we save ourselves. We are God, and the truth is within. It's esoteric. It's not exoteric. Exoteric is for the fools. It's for little children. The Jews teach that to 12-year-olds and under. At the age of the 12, they unbewitch them, and they say, you know those stories about Moses and all that, and what about Samson? Samson. Okay, Samson means the son, Shimshem, the little son. So Samson goes around doing all these weird things. One thing he does is he goes to a village and he's going to get married, and he proposes a riddle. He says, if any one of you 30 men of my choice men, 30 men, 30 degrees in every sign, he says, if anyone guesses that riddle, I will give you 30 undergarments and 30 cloths. Something to that effect. So they guessed it, because they went to his wife, I think it was not Delilah, it was the other one. He had two. They guessed it. And so when he found that they'd guessed his riddle, he goes, oh, well, how am I going to get those undergarments and how am I going to get those cloths? So he went down to a village, he went down to Ashkelon, and he killed 30 men of them, clubbed them to death, got their undergarments, got their cloaks, and gave it to them and said, there you go, I've fulfilled my promise, haven't I? That's a judge. Samson was a judge of Israel, and he did that. Read Samson, and remember this. Delilah, that's Delilah who betrays Samson. Samson has 7 rays, 7 locks of hair, and the Philistines said, deliver him to us. Here's the Philistines. Deliver him to us, because Samson killed the lion, and he ate honey from the lion's carcass. He pulled down the gateposts of Gaza. He went down to Gaza, you know, the Gaza Strip they talk about now on the news. That's the same Gaza. He went down to Gaza, he pulls down the 2 posts. That's the solstices. And then he eats honey out of the lion. He gets betrayed by Delilah, and they cut his hair. Of course, the sun's rays, here they are long, they are radiating, and here they get cut as they go through the scales. And then the Philistines betray him and deliver him, and he's blind. Of course the sun's blind here. It's dead. It's winter. It's the coldest day of the year. It's just above the horizon. In summer it's 47 degrees higher from solstice to solstice. You know, if you're facing north. It's summer now, the sun's quite high, but it's dropping. In winter it will be very low. I was Jehovah's Witness up until, you know, the age of 40. And I knew all these scriptures. I used to do my stays. I was a good boy, and I used to knock on your doors, saving you. Trying to tell you about Samson. I know he was a judge of Israel, and this is what he did. It's ludicrous, because it's pure sun mythology. All of it. Every single shred, every word, every punctuation mark. It's all solar. Revelation 12:1, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. This is the labyrinth. This is King Arthur's 12 knights and the round table. This is Aphrodite's belt. This is Mount Zion. This is the tabernacle. It's everything. Genesis 37:3-11, Joseph tells his brothers a dream. He says, I am about the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowing down to him. It's all the sun. Revelation 11:8, just in case, because everybody knows he was crucified in Golgotha or Jerusalem on the Mount of, you know, Golgotha, right? So, here we go, 11:8, and their corpses will be seen on the broad way of the great city, which is in the spiritual sense called Sodom and Egypt, where their Lord was also impaled. Well, remember I told you that these are crucifixions. 4 crucifixions, 4 Gospels. This is the crucifixion in Egypt, because this is Egypt, this is the Promised Land. Jesus was, in fact, crucified in Egypt, if you know this science. That's how he can be crucified in 2 different places. Here, Jesus and Porphyry, the 3rd century scholar, brought this out. He said, why does Jesus say something different at the end of every gospel before he dies? At the moment where Jesus dies on the cross, in one gospel he says, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Eli, Eli is the Son. Why have you forsaken me? That's here, winter. Well, here he says it is finished at this crucifixion. If you think the Bible's not really harmonising with all this, well, let's have a look at some scriptures. Genesis 1:14, and God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and for seasons and for days and for years. Bible says it. Psalms 19:4-6, their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. The tabernacle is this. This is the tabernacle of Moses. This is the temple of Solomon. Jesus said, I will make you a pillar of the temple of my God. The 12 pillars. Because in my Father's mansion there are many houses. It's all here. And it says, which he has made, this is Psalm still, which he has made as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. Remember the bridegroom coming out of his chamber? 1 Corinthians 15:41. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from the other in glory. Here's Psalm 50 verse 1. His power is from the rising of the sun until the setting thereof. Who are we talking about? The sun. Because the sun's power is only good during the day. The Bible's telling us. Job 38:42. Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? What's Mazzaroth? It's in the Bible in Job 38:32. It's the zodiac. Can you, and Job is saying, God is saying to Job, can you tell the zodiac? Do you know, as Homer and Hesiod and Aratus and all the great poets said, when you see Taurus, you go out and get your bull and plough, and then you will be able to benefit. These are the two covenants. The covenants of works. This is the covenant of works because you have to work to gather. And this is the covenant of rest. Because you can't work here, you can't plough. If you go out and plant some seeds in the winter, you're going to die. Malachi 4:2, the Son of Righteousness with healing in its wings. Well, that's interesting. That's Malachi, the very, very, very last verses of the Old Testament. Because Malachi is saying the Son, Jesus, is coming. We're going to turn to the sun. We've been worshipping the moon and Saturn and Jupiter and all the planets. Now it's time for the sun, because we have to get mankind to go up into the heart chakra. Because that's where we're going. As a race, we're going to the heart chakra. We've been down here fighting in the bottom red chakras. We've been fighting. We've been concentrating on power. It's all over. That game's all over, man. We are going into the heart chakra. How do I know? Well, we've been in the age of Pisces for 2,000 years, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's the boss. He took the throne from Saturn. He always stole from his father, but we are now going back to Saturn. We're going back to Aquarius. And when we go back to Aquarius, the opposite is Leo. In Leo, there's a star called Regulus, and it's the little atom that's in your heart. It's a centripetal atom that commands all the other atoms in your body, according to occult theology and alchemy. That is the atom in the heart. And that atom, when the age of Aquarius comes up in the east on the equinox here, opposite will be Leo. And Regulus is that star, the biggest star in the constellation. It corresponds to that heart chakra. And Regulus in Arabic is called the Messiah. The Messiah is coming back. It is. It's the stars. It's the new heavens and the new earth that are going to come with the age of Aquarius. It's not New Age stuff. It's timeless. Everything I'm telling you, there's nothing here that's New Age. None of it. Although it harmonises with it perfectly well. I don't get involved with it. Not much. I listen to a bit of Drumbelow Melchizedek and David Wilcock and guys like that, Stuart Swerdlow. Well, that's not... But anyway, you know what I'm saying. This is timeless information. It's not New Age at all. There it is there. The sun with healing in its wings. And whoopsie-daisy, there it is there. And guess what this is? This is the Jehovah's Witness Assembly Hall in New Jersey. They have that on the top of it. There's the sun, remember? Helios. Look at the Baptist Church. Living Hope. You think they know something? Who's the Son? Oh, the Son of God. S-U-N and S-O-N are interchangeable. They always have been. There he is, the yes. The yin and the yang. Look at this. This is old. This is probably about, I don't know, 20,000 years old. because there's a lot of stuff in Egypt that is so old, and they bequeathed this marvellous science to us. Right? In the Bible, in the book of Timothy, the Apostle Paul says, in the last days shall come evil times, that they will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, and untrustworthy and unfaithful. Well, yeah, that's a cycle. When we go close to our star Sirius, we go to the golden age. When we are away from the sun, which we have been for the last 2,000 years, we're in the dark ages. We go from gold down to silver, down to bronze, down to dark. Yes, of course in the last days there's going to be this ignorance. But Hermes said it thousands of years before the Apostle Paul did. Let's have a read of Hermes. Just a little snippet out of this is the lament of Hermes, because he was in Egypt. Well, it was the spiritual wisdom that was in Egypt that cried out and said, there are days coming in which they will come to this land, to Egypt, and they will strip all of our beautiful images. Images. What's an image? This is why the religion of the who hate the idols, because idols are symbols, icons, images. They help you to imagine. Imagine. Image. Magic happens with images. They don't want you to have these images, and that's what he said. There were days, and it did happen. The Greeks went there and they took away knowledge and abused it. The Romans went there, and Julius Caesar brought the obelisk from Egypt to the centre. Well, he brought it to, they put it in the centre of the Vatican now, but that happened 2,000 years ago. Julius Caesar did that with his boats and all his machines. They took 13 obelisks from Egypt. Hermes predicted it. He said they will come here and then they will go and they will say that Egypt is the land of spiritual prostitution and images and graven images and everything like that. This is the first. This is why Giordano Bruno also died, because he said, unless we go back to the religion of Egypt, we're doomed. Because they had the science, they left it for us. How do we know they were smarter than we are? Well, they built the pyramids. We cannot do that today. We cannot build, we cannot reproduce that great pyramid. They did. They had science that was way, way, way above what we have now. We are foolish children compared to how wise they were, and they left this for us. This comes from Egypt, guys. They were very careful about the afterlife. They knew about the afterlife. They knew how to get there. You have to wake up. You have to grow your energy through the chakras and burst the pineal gland before you go back to any kind of spiritual source where you came from. We were created above this, above the seven, but we come from above the tyrannical but loving kingdom of the planets. This is the demiurge. It's not the prime creator. Ein Sof. The Jews call him Ein Sof. You can't name him. This is Jehovah. Jehovah is the Elohim. The Elohistic and the Jehoistic Jewish, there's two religions merged into one. One's Elohistic, the Elohim, and one's Jehoistic, which is Jupiter, based on Jupiter. These are the cosmocrators. These are the potters. These are the ones that make our forms. But once we go through the seven rings, as we descend from Saturn, and we've got to go back up through Saturn, the rings or the heaven of Saturn, in other words, burst the pineal gland, to get back to God. As we come down, Manly P. Hall teaches that Saturn gives us a vestment, Saturn gives us reason and rationality, Jupiter gives us judgment, Mars gives us willpower, the Sun gives us divine will, Venus gives us sensual attributes, Mercury gives us intellect, the Moon gives us imagination, and the Earth, the eighth, the ogdode, the octave, because every seven is rounded off to an octave. In music, what's an octave? 7 notes. It's not 8. Every 7 is rounded off to an octave, and this is rounded off to 13, every 12. 8 and 5 are Fibonacci numbers. We'll go into that another time. But when we get out of there, when we climb back, as we descend down those rungs, we get 7 vices. Jealousy, greed. We get these earthly base low vibrating. The molecule is the lowest degree of life that exists. The photon and the plasma is the highest. as you go up. And as we ascend, we turn those vices into virtues. And we conquer jealousy. We wake up. We activate the powers that were given us. We all have 7 powers, and we are here to activate them. And we have 12 labours to do. We have to activate those 7 powers, and we have to do our 12 labours, whatever they are. The sun, Hercules, has 12 labours. Samson had to kill the lion. Hercules has to kill the lion. The sun has to die. It has to go through that climbing and growing. It has to struggle here and get baptized and purified in February, which means purification. And then it conquers here. And then the sun grows in momentum and he gets enthroned. That's the enthronement of the sun. But then later, as he goes on, he gets betrayed. And the sun gives his life so that all may live. That's what it's talking about. Remember, the kingdom of cold, this is hot. That's the hottest part of the day, hottest part of the year, hottest part of the body. This is cold, the opposite. Everything is opposite here. Look at this. Venus and Mars. Venus and Mars. The moon and Saturn. That's not so much obvious with the moon and Saturn in Cancer and Capricorn, but it is with Mercury and Jupiter. There's patterns here, guys, and you'll see the patterns. The average blood, the heartbeat, 72. It's everywhere because it comes from precession. It comes from our binary 24,000 year. And that's why we have 24 hours. Why have we got 24 hours on the clock? Because we have 24,000 years of a cycle that we have microcosmically divided. There's the sun. 6, 6, 6. And they got that from the Ku Klux Klan, guys. Vodafone. Yeah, they stole that. That's 6. 1 there, upside down. There's 666 everywhere. They do it all the time. But 666 is carbon. Carbon has an atomic value of 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. 666. The hex. I'll show you that in a minute. Hyatt, the sun. Disk over. The disk goes over. The stars. All corporate logos. 7-Up, the sun. The unicorn. All solar symbolism. Cancer. The 2 6s fit the symbol of Cancer. The moon and the sun. The golden sun and the white moon. The white virgin. The bride. The marriage at Cana. Aquarius. Mars. The vulva. Male and feminine. That is vulva. Do your homework and you'll see. Toyota. Yeah, it's right there. They do this. It's all sexual because this is sexual. Electric, magnetic. Everything in the universe is electromagnetic. There's not a thing that is not. Not a thing. Everything is. It's all electromagnetic. Nissan. Nissan means March in Jewish. So does Mazda. See that sign of Aries? There's the sun going through the equator on Nisan 14. Very soon the Jews are going to go down, as soon as they see the full moon, and they will celebrate the Passover in this month of the Lamb. And they eat the Lamb of God. And we call it the marriage of the Lamb. Why? Because the full moon is always opposite. When on Nisan 14, Easter, Sunday, it won't be the full moon because Sunday is the first. Easter is always the first Sunday after the first full moon after the 21st of March. That's how you work. You want to know when Easter is? This year it's going to be the 24th of April. It's going to be very, very late. It's almost, well, it will be. It'll be in Taurus. So it's the exception to the rule, but 99% of Easters happen in this month because it's the Lamb. It's the Passover Lamb, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. Because forgiveness is here. This is not forgiveness. This is punishment. You get to stay in your house and you don't move because outside is the cold and you will die. And you have to wait for the days to lengthen, Lent, and then finally when the sun passes over then you celebrate the Passover and eat the lamb. And this is the marriage of the lamb, because the moon is always opposite. And where is the moon? Here. Where am I pointing? To the Virgin, the mother of the Christ. And the day in the Catholic calendar for the conception, when Gabriel says, "You shall have a son, and he shall be born." When's Jesus born? We know it's the 25th of December, yeah? Right? Well, you know, it's tradition, okay? Well, on the 25th of March, that's when Gabriel says to Mary, "You will have a son." Because, of course, it takes 9 months for a son to be born. If the son is born here, it must be conceived here. And it is, because it's the marriage of the Lamb. When the sun passes over, the moon will be in Libra Virgo. It must be opposite. Full moons are always opposite. Always. Now, originally, Virgo and Scorpio were one sign. And you can tell that because you look at the sign for Virgo in the belly and Scorpio, and they've both got N's, because that's Mary. Mary's the Virgin, and that's the N. And it used to be connected, and then they opened it up and put Libra in there, but the moon is always here when the sun crosses over, and we celebrate that magnificent day, which is Easter. It's all about the equinox. The equinox is the saviour. This is the saving day. This is the garden in the east that God planted, and with the tree of life, because it gives you life. This gives you death. This is the tree. The equinoxes are always trees, brothers, pillars, thieves. Thieves because, remember Jesus, he dies down here. The sun dies down here. He dies between two thieves. This is the bad thief. This is the good thief. This thief always betrays the son to his death. Scorpio and Pilate, the guy with the arrow or with the sword. And then, of course, this thief says, and Jesus says to him, "Truly I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise." Well, you can understand that scripture now, because it's the equinox. And truly I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise. This is paradise. It's the land flowing with milk and honey. How do I know? Because there's the milk. The Milky Way galaxy runs between Taurus and Gemini, and Scorpio and Sagittarius. This is the milk, and the honey is in Cancer, the beehive. That's the land flowing with milk and honey, because the stars tell you it is. But when these star groups come up in winter, these are different star groups. This is the Red Sea. This is Hades. It's hell. This is Egypt. You see, the Israelites had to come up out of the land of Egypt to go to the promised land. And when you eat from this tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, from the day you eat from that fruit, you will certainly die. And you'll be cast out of the Garden of Eden, and we will have to give you clothes. Remember, God said, and he made a skin for Adam and Eve and clothed them, because they're going down to the winter. It's all of them, all of these stories are in the sky. Yes. Who knows who's seen that word before? Yes, Krishna. That's exactly the name for Krishna. Yes, Krishna. In Hebrew, we do this. Yes. Because that's how you pronounce it, Jesus. They put a US on here, incorrectly, the Romans did. It's yes, in the name of the Son, as you just saw. And remember we had the cycles. So yes, and we also, when we say yes, we nod our heads, because yes is the sun. It's positive. The sun is positive, negative. So when we say yes, we're referring to that yes. And we go up and down because the sun rises and the sun sets. So we do this, nod our heads. That becomes yes, which is yeah. which is year, which is year. Who is responsible for the year? The sun. Who is responsible for the month? Month is moon. Who's responsible for minutes? The moon. Who's responsible for hour? Horus. Can you see the word hour there? You and then the R. Hour. Who's responsible for the hour? The sun. Every hour. Every minute is the moon. What about day? Who's responsible for the day? Day is the word Deus in Latin, God. It's always the sun. All of our cycles, month, minute, hour, year, day, come from the bodies that generate those cycles. You just have to look and remember that the name of the sun is Yes. Please take note of another cycle. There is the glorious moon, the wife of the sun. The moon, in all her splendour, does the same thing every 28, 29 days. New moon, full moon. Notice where the quarter moon is? Quarter, quarter. Full moon, new moon. When the sun reaches its fullness, then it has to wane. It waxes, it wanes. The moon is waxing, quarter. Full moon in her glory. Now this cycle is exactly in the woman's womb. It's the menstruation cycle. Men comes from moon. And isn't it funny that it takes 14 days for the egg to mature, and if it's fertilised, 270 days later, a child is produced, comes out of the womb. If not, 14 days later, it will bleed. The womb will bleed, won't it? And that one day and a little bit of the next day and a little bit of the day before, like a day and a half, nearly 2 days, you cannot see the moon. The new moon cannot be seen because it's in between the sun and the earth. So it's in between, you can't see it. But when it's opposite, you see the full moon. We just saw one 2 days ago. Beautiful. It's in its glory as the wife of the sun. And she does exactly the same thing. That's why I put Aries here, because Aries represents quarter moon. It's exactly the same cycle. She reflects the sun. And in fact, when you look at the light of the moon, it's not the light of the moon. It's just reflecting the sun's light. It's a reflector. And that's why when you do your astrology, you need to know not your sun sign only. The moon sign is also important, because that's your reflective attributes. How you react when someone scares you. You know, if you do this, you're a Leo. Your moon was in Leo. You know, if you sort of do this, well then you're Pisces. You're softer. If you think about it, you might be Virgo. But that's how you tell someone's moon sign. And the ascendant also gives other features. Those three must be known. The ascendant is here at right ascension, at the first month of the year. Primus, Secundus, third, fourth. I've got the names written here. Primus, Secundus, Tertius, Quartus, Quintus, Sestus, and Sept, September. Because it all begins here. Now, I have one more thing to do and then we can get right into it. The sun rules Leo. The seven-rayed god, according to Plutarch. The seven-rayed god. Where did we see 7 before? It's everywhere. Everything is 7. A septenary. In fact, everything is 12, 7, 4 and 3. Trinity, quadruplicity, septenary and dozen. You will see these numbers everywhere in the physical world. They are God's numbers. In fact, the Jews, the Kabbalists say that God loves nothing better than the number 7. It's his greatest creation. The number 7? Of course, because it is creation. You can't have 6. You have to have 7 layers of this, of physicality. The moon. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn. In their order, in fact, right? From Mercury, very close, the sun, Mercury is always close by to the Sun because Mercury is closest to the Sun. That's why Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Venus is next. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Okay? Very important to understand these because you see the oppositions. Now, we looked at this agriculturally and we saw how spring is here. Oh yes, well, Aries is the wool of the land. That fixed fire is summer. Well, hang on a minute. Why would the sun, I mean, let's think about this. Why would the sun have its home in Leo? Well, let's have a look at it. Here's summer, the summer solstice. It always takes 40 days after the sun hits one of these cardinal points, because remember these are cardinal. See the cardinal? Cardinal. The cardinal points are these. The Great Cross. The Great Cross. When the sun hits that, it takes 40 days for it to reach its fullness. And that's midsummer. The hottest, the dog days begin here in July. Go for 3 or 4 weeks. But it's also 2 to 4, isn't it? Do you remember 6 o'clock is over here? 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2. Well, isn't 2 to 4 the hottest part of the day? It's the hottest part of the day. And when you look at the body, it's in the heart. Isn't that the hottest part of the body? Hot blood? That's where the heat comes from the blood. It's the heart. So, of course fixed fire is there. I mean, let's have a look at it naturally, okay? Let's have a look at just the fire signs, the triplicity of the fire signs. So we've got fire, fire, and fire. Fixed fire, cardinal fire, fixed fire, mutable fire. This is, of course this is cardinal. Remember, cardinal is starting, expansive, explosive, beginning. You use, I mean, you look at all the cardinal people. I mean, aren't they directional? You can tell by the way they walk. I can pick, oh, this has got to be, I can see someone walking down, it's got to be a Capricorn. I mean, look at, you know, they just walk direct. You know, the Leo's sort of more fixed and they're more casual, and then the mutable people are so adaptable and they don't, you know, necessarily show these strong choleric features. Because Carl Jung, no, it wasn't Carl Jung, Carl Jung gave us the intuitive people, the thinking people, the emotional people. Interesting? Emotional? And the sense people, the 5 sense people. Molecule, solidity, carbon, sense. You look at the way a Capricorn, or especially a Virgo, with their earth, you look at the way these people, you know, the way they use their senses. They love to touch things and feel things, and they get all their information from their 5 senses. Not all of it, but they work better than these guys. These guys tend to be, you know, just, well, I won't say. Okay, but have you seen your Libran friends and your Aquarian friends? Man, you know, I mean, you can just see the busy eyes, man. They're thinking. They're a thinking person. They process everything by thinking. And then these people are all emotional. It's all, I wonder what I feel about that. You know, Pisces especially, mutable water on the feet. That's why they say Pisceans understand and are always misunderstood. Well, because Pisces is in the feet. And the feet, it's not just the feet. It rules the nervous system. Just like the heart chakra rules the blood also. But you see how this is cardinal fire? Because it's early in the morning. That's a good place to put cardinal fire. So we begin to see that this is a science. Fixed fire has to be there. The sun must live there. That is the home. It's got to be. Any fool would put the sun there. And any fool would put his opposite brother Satan or Saturn, Mr. Cold, It's freezing. If you're ever going to take a trip to Saturn one day when they get the Voyager or whatever, Voyager Mark 16 or whatever, bring some jumpers along, right? Mr. Hot, Mr. Cold. Look at the polarities. Look at the fixed signs. Fixed, fixed, fixed and fixed. Okay, the 4 fixed. Look at them. There's the polarity of Mr. Hot and Mr. Cold, Venus and Mars. Venus and Mars. The Korean sun. The Korean flag. This is the South Korean flag, guys. Earth, fire, air and water. Male, feminine. Yin and yang. It's just science. It's all science. And when you look at your corporate logos, which every single one of these is the sun. Shell, L is the sun. McDonald's, sign of Aries. Red and yellow is the sun. Target, the sun. Do you remember the symbol for the sun? The earth was a circle with a plus sign in the middle. The sun is a circle with a dot in the middle. Look at that one. Is that not the Jewish menorah? The wings of the sun. The sun. All these car models, they all have the wings of the sun. Sorry? Yes. What about Holden? Leo with the sun. There's the Holden wings. Metro Goldwyn Mayer. Leo, the sun, the ring, the golden ring. The CIA, the sun, Central Intelligence Agency. Lucent Technologies. The sun is lucent. Lucy in the sky. Time Warner, there's the eye of the sun. That's the label for Elvis Presley. Where would you put the king? On top of the sun. It's the king. Ra. Ra, Horus, Set, Osiris. That's the 4 names of the sun in Egyptian. Ra, radiate, royal, regal, Mithra, Surya of the Hindus. Ra is Israel, Abraham, Sarah. Ra is the sun up here. Ra in all his glory because he radiates. The rays of the sun come from Ra. And Horus, as I said before, hour. Because Horus, the sun, is always in the horoscope. On the horizon. The horizon, what's a zone? It's a belt. The Horus zone. When you say, oh, I'm just watching the horizon, well, you've got 2 words there. Horus, the sun, and belt. Zone is a belt. Zoni in Greek. Zoni is a belt. The black sun, Saturn, the twin brother of Jesus. MasterCard, 2 suns with the Vesica Pisces. 72 petals. I can go on about 72. 72, the average age of the human. 72 degrees, the sun goes back in precession. 1 degree every 72 years. The average blood, the heartbeat, 72. It's everywhere because it comes from precession. Comes from this. Jack and Jill, the sun and the moon, climbed up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Aquarius. Aquarius is above when Jack and Jill are here. So they go up to fetch a pail of water. Jack falls down. That's Jack the son. Jacob. In the Bible, Jacob is the son. Samson is the son. Moses is the sun and the moon. Jesus is the sun. Abraham is the sun. Sarah is the moon. They all are. It's all the sun. Jack falls down and breaks his crown, and Jill comes tumbling after the moon. The sun and the moon are always in their kingdom together in glory. Jesus marries Mary Magdalene, and there is the Virgin, his mother. That's what it is. John Thackeray Bunce. Fairy tales, their origin and meanings. They all mean the same thing. That is, the relation between the sun and the earth, the succession of night and day, the winter and summer, of storm and calm, of cloud and tempest, of golden sunshine and bright blue sky. And this is the source from which we get our fairy stories. For underneath all of them, there are the same fanciful meanings, only changed and altered in the way of putting them, by the lapse of ages of time, by the circumstances of different countries. and by the fancy of those who kept the wonderful tales alive without knowing what they meant. Isn't that right? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. There's the 7 dwarves, the 7 days of the week. Snow White is the sun. Little Red Riding Hood. The sun turns red. How many sunsets have you seen that are red? How many winters are red? They all are, because autumn is red. Little Red Riding Hood, as she turns red, she gets swallowed by the wolf, winter, night, and then she comes out alive at the next day. Beauty and the Beast. Who's Beauty? Well, we just read before, it's the dawn. It's always the dawn. The sun dies and he conquers and vanquishes his enemies. And at 6 a.m. in the morning, or break of day, there he is, you see the light just coming through. That's Prince Charming. That's Beauty and the Beast. And as he leaves the dawn every day, he says goodbye to his loved one and returns every year to the same spot, to where she is waiting for him. Let's read that. Beauty and the Beast. We have the same idea. There are the 3 sisters, one of whom is chosen as the bride of an enchanted monster who dwells in a beautiful palace. By the arts of her sisters she is kept away from him, and he is at the point of death through his grief. Then she returns, and he revives, and becomes changed into a handsome prince, and they live happy ever after. One feature of these legends is that beings closely united to each other, as closely, that is, as the sun and the dawn, may not look upon each other without misfortune. Orpheus and Eurydice. Perseus, the slayer of Medusa. It's the sun. As the sun comes up, he slays all his enemies. How many stars can you see when the sun comes up? They all run away because he vanquishes them. He is the king and has no mercy for the stars. But when he goes down, the stars come out and we can look up, as the animals cannot. As Marcus Manilius says, man is the one that is going back to the stars because his neck looks up and contemplates the stars where he came from and sees his way back home. We are stardust and we're going back to the stars. This is a story of the sun and the dawn. Cinderella, grey and dark and dull, is all neglected when she's far away from the sun. Obscured by the envious clouds, her sisters, and by her stepmother, the night. So she is Aurora, the dawn, and the fairy prince is the morning sun, ever pursuing her to claim her for his bride. Myths and myth makers. Around about the same time, 1800s. John Fiske, the Trojan War. Helen, the moon. Mary Magdalene, the moon. Selene, the moon. Anything with an ele sound is the moon. Sleeping Beauty. The earth goddess sinks to her long winter sleep when pricked by the point of the spindle. In her cosmic palace all is locked in icy repose, naught thriving save the ivy which defies the cold, until the kiss of the golden-haired sun god reawakens life and activity. Song of Sixpence, 4 and 20 blackbirds, the 24 hours of the day. It's all in here. And the pie that holds them is the underlying earth, covered with the overreaching sky. How true a touch of nature it is that when the pie is opened, that is, when day breaks, the birds begin to sing. The king is the sun, and he's counting out the money. He's pouring and counting out his money is pouring out the sunshine. When the king, King John counts all his money, or whoever, that's pouring out his sunshine, gold, because gold is money. We have gold, silver, and bronze. Silver is the moon, and that's why we call it money. M-O-N comes from the moon. We have money, moon, silver, more predominant than gold. But that's the sun counting his money, the gold rays of the sun. How true a touch of nature it is that when the pie is opened, that is, when the day breaks, the birds begin to sing. The king is the sun, and he's counting out his money, he's pouring out the sunshine. The golden shower of Danae. The queen is the moon. The queen's always the moon. It's always the moon. Guinevere, it's the moon. Helen of Troy, it's the moon. Abraham and Sarah, Brahma and Saraswati, that's interesting. The scholar who teaches this, Acharya S., who was responsible for the movie Zeitgeist, teaches that Brahma, what they used to do, Brahma and Saraswati, well that's, oh sorry, leave that B there, take the A off here and just put Abraham and Sarah. It's always the sun and the moon. Wherever you go, every fairy tale, every nursery rhyme will go back to that. It may splinter off into other natural phenomena like earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis and stuff like that, but it always comes from the most striking and observable of all the natural phenomena, the day and the night. We are locked in that cycle. We are locked in these fractals, in these rhythms. We cannot escape them whilst we are here, sub-ether, and under the power of the seven, which are the seven chakras. This is the science that teaches you that you are one unit of God. We're made of carbon. We've been hexed. Because when you unpack a hex cube, you get a cross that looks like the human body. 6 squares. We've been hexed with earth. We have to have a water baptism. Jesus says you need a baptism of spirit. Spirit is air. And a baptism of fire. And then you go back to the Father. Cain and Abel. Isaac and Esau. And Jacob. This is Jacob. This is Israel. He gets a name change. This is Abram. This is Abraham. He gets a name change at 90 degrees. The sun below and the sun above have a different name, but they're brothers. One's positive, one's negative. It's nature. Everything has resistance. It has to have. Every energy must be resisted. That's duality. Here there is oneness. Here there is duality. Sub-ether is the world in which we live, but we come from that world and we go back to this world. You need to know this science and not be tricked by the literal story, because the literal story will not save you. Salvation means waking up. We need to wake up. Scorpio, the backbiter. Judas is a backbiter. So is Scorpio, because a scorpion doesn't bite with his front claws, he bites with his back. And when you get bitten by a scorpion and you notice the bruise, it looks like a kiss, a human kiss, 2 lips. That's why Jesus is betrayed with a kiss. There's a reason why every detail is in the Bible. You must look here. And isn't it interesting that the scorpion should be there to bite the sun and betray the sun? Isn't it interesting that the goat should be there? The water bearer should be in the wet season. Pisces. What happens before Easter? Pisces. Lent. Lent is short for lengthen. The 40 days of Lent start here when Jesus gets baptized and then goes 40 days into the wilderness and then starts his ministry here. And they eat fish. Here you eat lamb. Here you eat beef. What as above, so below. Continuing on. The stars of the Scorpio were hidden by the sun during the season of unhealthy weather and of plagues. Remember, that's the Tropic of Cancer, June 21st, and here is December. Do you remember that? That's the solstice, yeah? Okay? So we've got and that's the equator virtually. Don't be confused. This is not north, south, east and west. This is just a graph. And as I said before, you can start Aries over here, which is more natural. It's proper to have Aries over here, actually. But I'm going to do it from here and you'll see why. It all makes sense when we put everything together. It's just as right to put Aries over here. But when you think of it, the Earth is going anti-clockwise around the Sun, rotating and orbiting anti-clockwise. So therefore Aries should be over here, that should be east, and that should be west. But it's not what I'm doing. Okay, and so and there's the Tropic of Cancer, there's the Tropic of Capricorn. Good? The elements, we go back. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. Cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal. Okay? Now, remembering, March is over here. We've just crossed that. September's over here, 21st. Well, I'm putting the 21st to keep it simple, but that should be the 23rd, doesn't matter. 12 midday, sunset, right? So you've got sunrise, 12 sunset, midnight. Spring, summer, the fall, autumn, and winter. Okay? Also, I told you that the body goes in through there. Aries at the head, fire, cardinal fire, because the fire is up, the water is down. Water and earth are down, they're feminine. These are masculine. Spirit is masculine. That's why we call God male. It's not because God is all male. God is male and female, especially when you're talking about this God, the demiurge, the cosmocrators. This is the Elohim, this is Jehovah, this is Jupiter, this is God, this is the Olympians, the 12 Olympians, the 7 Olympians, who destroy the Titans, right? Holy, the holy Olympians, the Elohim. Wherever you see Ol, El, or Il, and even in Italian and Spanish, the article el, in Spanish, anything masculine is el, because el is masculine. The boys, the big boys on the block, they are the two L's, and they are the two cr. Remember? It's very important to remember this, because it all fits together in a minute. They are the two twins. In the Bible, if you know what you're looking for, you will find that Jesus was a twin. That's Thomas Didymus. 21st of December is St. Thomas Day, because Jesus rules up here, the sun. And by the way, how do I know for sure that Jesus is the Son? You seen that? What are those letters? Yeah, that H. Any Greeks in the house? I've already asked that. That is E. And it's pronounced that H. It's not an H. This is not Latin. This is Greek. And that is I-E. It's pronounced ita. It's the Greek word for E. S. Yes. It spells yes. Now have a look at that. That's what you just saw. Now always in this language of the sun, you will see that picture with the H-E-S in it. Okay? Now I just said to you that it was yes. Who knows who's seen that word before? Yes, Krishna. That's exactly the name for Krishna. Octa is 8, tetra's 4, because it has 4 sides. Okay? Earth is hex, so it's just a square, hex. Dodeca means 12. This is 12, guys. Remember the shape of the dodecahedron? Everything comes from the 12. And as Hermes says that the universe is a mind. It's God's mind. The universe is mental, one of the 7 Hermetic principles. The universe is mental, and it's in 12. It has 12 latent energies, and then it gives itself through to the 7 active energies, the 7 dynamos, electromagnetic dynamos of our solar system, which are causing us to manifest. The energies are there. Okay? And that's what Plato says, that our souls come from the 12, the Milky Way galaxy, the 12, down a 7-rung ladder, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, this is the order. Take note. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun in the middle. And Ptolemy gave us this order. He was one of the astrologers that gave us it. It's not the natural physical order of the solar system. It's the hierarchical order. Saturn is at the top. Why? Because he takes 30 years to go around the Sun. He's at the top. This guy, 12 years. So he's next. This guy, 2 years, just slightly under 2 years, Mars, he's next. Then the Sun, because we interchange the Earth with the Sun and we put the Sun in the middle, the heart. I'll show you later. That's the heart, Leo, and the Sun rules here. It's right here in your body. Okay, we're going to study that fractal. We're going to study, this is the biology. Then you get, Venus is next, 225 days, 88 days, and then the Moon is 28 days. So she's at the bottom, okay? The 7 days of the week, the 7 everything. These are the 7 Elohim in the first book of Genesis. Let us make man in our image. They make man in their image. Because this is the image of the 7. It's in you, it's your soul. And each planet is responsible for holding one of those together, centripetally. And it's your chakras. And when you know this science, you can raise your energy above the 3 bottom levels, which have to do with sex, power, and survival. I've mixed that order up because I'm not, you know this. I'm sure most of you know this. If not, you can study it and find out which order that is. That is love. That's the doorway to get to the kingdom of heaven, which is up here, where the pituitary gland is and the pineal gland is. And this is where all the kingdom stuff happens. This is where all the hell stuff happens. It's red, because hell is red. Hell is red. Now, how do I know that that's hell? This is summer. This is winter. How do you say winter? In Latin, inverno, invernal, or, well, no, that's not a word. In Spanish it is. Inferno. Anyway, that's winter. What's hell? Anyone know? This is inferno, this is inferno, this is hell, because when the sun comes down here, he meets with Saturn. On the 21st of December, Saturn rules Capricorn, Saturn rules Aquarius. He's cold. It's very cold. He's right at the extremity of the solar system. He's very magnetic. He causes about 50% of all the illnesses on the planet. He's the Grim Reaper. He's the harvester of the souls, because he is Kronos. Remember the KR I told you about before, Christ? Well, he's Kronos, isn't he? Saturn in Greek is Kronos, KR. Remember that cross I showed you before? It's also Kronos. What I'm going to show you is that the rivalry that has always existed between the hero and his oppressor, Jesus and Satan, Horus and Set. You know all the heroes. They've all got their enemy, right? Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. It's good to go over these, because then you can remember where they are. This is nature. It's pure nature. It's pure science. And that's where astrology comes from. You're going to see this. I'll show you. Spring, Arians. I'm Arian. My birthday's tomorrow. Right? So I'm born right after this, the start of the year, the start of the day. This is 6 o'clock, remember. Remember, the day is here. Day, night, summer, winter. Summer is day, and winter is night, isn't it? Winter's just not as much light, therefore it's colder. They're the same thing. There's 2 pulses every day, 6 o'clock, morning. And by the way, Aries rules every day from 6 to 8 o'clock. Every morning we wake up with an electric pulse, and we go to the masculine left brain, and we operate out of there for 2 hours. Handy to know this stuff. Taurus, your naturopaths know it. Feminine. Venus rules here. It's magnetic. We go to the right brain and we get softer, and we do these materialistic things like eating, because Taurus represents the mouth. Aries is the head, Taurus is the mouth. Here's the twins, Gemini, Cancer, Leo the heart, Virgo the belly, Libra the justice, kidneys. Scorpio is the generative organs, Sagittarius is the thighs, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces at the feet. We have a positive top and a negative bottom. See that sine wave? This is from Pappus, the French occultist of the 17th century. I think he was involved in the transcendental movement with guys like Ralph Waldo Emerson and all those geniuses. But he was certainly a genius, and I got this out of his book. See that sine wave? Aries is pointing to the head. Taurus. Now you can examine many of these. I've brought a few along. Isn't that beautiful? This is science. Aries is always on the head. See the lamb There's the bull, right on the neck. There's the Cancer, the crab, the moon and the sun just below. In British heraldry, you have the lion and the unicorn. That's the lion and the unicorn, because the unicorn is also the sign for Cancer. Opposite Cancer is Capricorn. Unicorn, Capricorn. These are the two corns, the two horns of abundance. This horn is a gateway. It opens to the sun going down and dying and then being reborn again on the 25th of December, Christmas Day, and climbs up again. Gets baptised in January. That's January. That's January the Baptist. The sun gets baptised in January. It's the wet month. And the sun gets baptised at 30 degrees. Tung, 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 climbs up, bang. Aquarius. The water bearer. January. It's the wet month. The sun's getting a baptising. What does February mean? Pisces. February. Februa is the goddess of purification. It means you're purifying yourself. So here you've got a baptism and a purification. The sun is purifying itself, and it exalts here in the sign of the Lamb. The Jews are all going to celebrate, the next full moon, they're going to celebrate the Passover, and they're going to eat the Passover lamb. And we're going to celebrate Easter as Christians. Easter. Why? Because the sun is in the east. It's perfectly in the east. So, Easter, the star is in the east. And therefore, I've diverted a bit. I'll come back to all of this. I've jumped. What I was going to explain to you is how the sun, agriculturally, you can see why the signs are there. You can see clearly why the signs are there. The lamb reminds you of the blossom. Taurus tells you, go out and plough, because you won't be able to gather in September under the harvest, the virgin who holds the sheath of bread, because all the virgins go out to collect the harvest. This is the harvest month. The twins, Leo, summer. This is midsummer. This is July, August. The dog days. As the sun goes through Leo and the dog days, this is very, 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 very hot. And the lion represents the sun in its glory, in its throne, in its enthronement. But then, as it goes through Virgo and they collect the harvest, and all of a sudden the leaves begin to turn red, the sun is going through the Red Sea and everybody's freezing. And if they did not do this work, they would not eat here and they would die. Imagine yourselves in Scandinavia, for instance. If you ain't got a big chimney and you ain't got food and you've got logs of wood piled up and wine and oil and everything, man, you die. Sometimes you're there for 3 months, 4 months. If you haven't got anything, you will die. That's why evil is here. Evil is not, it's not, well, there's people practice evil. They choose to. But this is where good and evil, it's just natural. It's just this, it's nature. And Jesus, the Son, rules the summer kingdom of heaven, and Saturn rules the kingdom of hell, inferno, winter, because he's cold. Mr. Hot, Mr. Cold. Libra, when the sun goes through those scales on the 21st of September, it gets judged. And you're going to see later, this is the period here in Scorpio when all the stock markets crash. 1929, the 24th of October, just 3 days after the sign of Libra finishes, the sun is judged, and then the scorpion bites the sun. He is Judas Iscariot. The sun always is there to betray the sun to its death and hand him over to Saturn. And the sun gets betrayed by this fella here. Sagittarius, the killer of the sun. This is the guy that betrays him, Scorpio. Check out Strong's Concordance 4091, and it will say, Pilate armed with a spear. Libra betrays the sun. And I was actually speaking about the stock market crash. The 87 stock market crash, the 19th of October. The 2008 stock market crash, the 19th of October, exactly 20 years to the day. They always crash the market here. They always go to war here. When did this recent war just start? Wasn't it the 20th of March? When did the Gulf War begin in 2003? Wasn't it the 20th of March? You start a war in Aries. It's martial. You'll win your war if you start it there. If you crash here, as all those three major economic crashes of history will tell you, they all happened within the space of the 19th to the 25th of October. These are the betrayers of the sun. Capricorn. Capricorn is the goat. The goat climbs up again. The crab goes down. The goat likes to climb. Aquarius. Water season. Pisces, the fish season. And I'll show you some quotes, some references. John G. Jackson, writing in 1940. The constellations of the Lamb, the Bull and the Twins were star groups through which the sun passed in the spring, and in which time of the year occurred the seasons of sheep raising, ploughing and goat breeding. The spring. And the twins were the star groups through which the sun passed in the spring, in which time of the year occurred the seasons of sheep raising, ploughing and goat breeding. The twins were originally the two kids, since the young of goats are frequently born two at a time. The crab was so called because the sun reached its most northern point in that constellation and then returned toward the south, figuratively moving backward like a crab. The lion is the star group through which the sun moved in July, when its heat was most powerful, being compared with the most ferocious of the beasts. The virgin is an emblem of the harvest season, when the young girls were sent out to glean in the fields. The balance is the constellation in which the sun moved when day and night were equal in length. The justice. Balance. It's funny, isn't it, that those signs should be there, right on cue. Stars called the Archer reigned over the hunting season. Of course, here you've got to hunt, because you can't grow. This is growing, this is hunting. When the hunter shot game with the bow and arrow. In the goat, the sun reached the lowest point in its course, after which it began to climb toward the north again, just as the wild goat climbs toward the summit of the hill. The water carrier marked the position of the solar orb during the rainy season. The stars of the fishes constituted that group through which the sun passed when the fishing season was at its height. You've got the agricultural year. Now, fairy tales. I'll just do fairy tales first, just quickly, and show you that all our fairy tales, all our nursery rhymes come from this. Jack and Jill, the sun and the moon, climbed up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Aquarius. Aquarius is above when Jack and Jill